Women's International League for Peace and Freedom show, The Wake Up Call on WCOMLP, Chapel Hill and Carver 103.5 on your FM dial or live streaming at WCOMFM.org. You can also watch the show on the People's Channel after a week's delay on Thursday night at 10, Friday morning at 6, or Tuesday at noon. The show will also be available on our YouTube channel, Wake Up Call. I'm Iris Schwinzer here with our host, Lori Hoyt, and Emily O'Hare on the camera. Today our special guest is Braxton Foushee.
Hey Braxton, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Laura.
I think this is the first time you've been on.
Second time.
Second time? Okay. I know we've had your beautiful wife, Barbara, on a few times.
Yes.
And she's the one who gave me your number. And so I'm so glad you could come. And we're going to be talking to you about your role as chair of the NAACP Labor Committee. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And anything else you want to talk about? This is your time, but I think we'll start off with that.
Okay, well, there are 4 other members of the committee, and right now, even though we'll be dealing with international labor issues, my concentration, and I told the committee, and I've told Anna, who's our president, my concentration is going to be on Orange County. So, with that said, I started with, about 2 weeks ago, I met with Vishnu, who's engineer for WASA, and we talked about their contracts and the contracts that they had coming up. And my interest is to get percentage of minorities and to get some of the labor in those contracts for Orange County residents. I know a lot of the companies come with their own personnel, but if Durham can ease that into their contracts, we can ease that into our contracts. And so that's kind of my goal, along with the $15 an hour for employees. We also will be looking at how these organizations are set up to deal with questions of labor and make sure that the employees let them know that we're going to be looking over their shoulders about the employees that they have and make sure that they're living up to stipulations of those agreements for employees.
Good for you. So it's always good to have somebody checking on these things. We can sort of take it for granted. I remember not that many years ago, there was a lot of issues with the town of Chapel Hill and some employee grievances that it seemed were not being handled very fairly. And so that some work had to be done on that. So whatever the organization, even no matter how good they are, we all need checking up on at times.
And we've had great success with some of the businesses around here. As you know, people will come to us with some problems, and
By coming to us, you mean to the
NAACP
Exactly.
with some labor problems, and so we've been trying to get our little heads and noses into those corners to assist those too, and we've been pretty successful with some of them.
Now, you're pretty new to be in charge of the labor committee.
Well, I was co-chair last year, and I didn't really want to do the chair, but Reverend Campbell is busy, as you know.
Yeah.
And so I told him, I said, well, if you'll be my backup, you don't have to be the co-chair. If you be my backup, I said we can work together. And we worked with Peter before, so.
So you have experience, but right now you're the man in charge.
I'm the man in charge right now, and I gained some experience when I was working with the university. I served on a couple of committees at the hospital.
I didn't know that you worked for the university.
Well, yeah, I worked for I worked for the university for somewhere around 40 years or so.
Oh, for goodness sakes. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen you around at NAACP.
That was my
I didn't know that.
day job.
Yeah. So, but you retired from that. Now.
Yeah, I retired in '91.
Okay. So now you have a full amount of time to take on this big responsibility.
Yeah, I can give it. I have a business. I have a tree business, and
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I try to work, and they know. I got 3 employees. They know that 3 days a week for us is enough.
So what kind of tree business you go out?
We do. Yeah, I do tree removal. Trimming,
Uh-huh.
bushes, lawns.
That can be pretty dangerous work, tree removal.
It is. I don't go up a tree. I got a guy that.
You have somebody.
I got somebody else. He's been doing it for.
You supervise.
He's been doing it for about 40 years. Once it hit the ground, then we take it over.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have your irons in many fires.
I try to keep.
Keep busy.
I try to keep busy, and I serve on the planning board for the town of Carver,
Okay.
and that's
a big job too.
that's a big job because we got to look at all the new stuff coming in and make our little recommendations.
And when your wife Barbara was running for Carrboro Alderman, I imagine that you were on her team, helping her do that.
I try to stay in the background and let her do. Of course, we talk every night about what I think you should be over in this area. I think you should try to, get some inroads into over here, and I just trying to coach her a little and.
Yeah. Support.
Yeah, I didn't do too many things to be seen because it was her campaign, and I wanted to keep her out front.
Right.
Yeah, as long as I stay in the background, I'm fine. I mean, that's at some points I can stay in the background. At some points I can't stay in the background. But if I had my choice, I'd rather work in the shadows.
Okay. In the shadows, meaning the background.
In the background.
None of the dark side or anything.
Right. Just don't want to be seen. Go out and do what I have to do. And you know me,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say what I gotta say, and the chips can fall where they may.
Yeah.
Some people like what I say, and some people don't like what I say. But it's okay with me.
Okay.
We've been in this game long enough to
A
know.
long time, yeah. Been around. So you're a Chapel Hill person. Grew up around here, or?
Yes, I did. I grew up in Northside. I grew up right down from.
Oh boy.
I grew up right down from Northside Elementary.
Uh-huh.
That was my whole playground, and only moved to Carver once I got married, because that's that housing market put me in the right place. I couldn't live in Carver today. I mean, it's just too expensive.
Oh, I know.
We never thought we would say that, but it's just.
It used to be that Carver was the affordable end of Chapel Hill.
That's right.
And now I think
And now it's.
people have to go out to where.
Well, them Zim brothers, they're not building any affordable housing, so.
They have to go to Hillsborough, and I think now they have to go to Mebane.
Hillsborough, Mebane,
Ethel.
that market is.
Yeah.
It used to be Chatham, but Chatham is almost as bad as.
Yeah.
Almost as bad as Carver now, and
Yeah.
with all those new homes going up out there,
Right. So you know the community really well for many, many years.
Many years. Yes, I made a choice. a long time ago. That was in '59 when I got out of high school. You know, all of my friends was doing that northern migration.
Oh, were they?
Yes, and you know, I got sisters. I had at that time. My father and mother were divorced, and there was 7 of us, and I being the second oldest, and my sister, you know, she was doing her thing. She was the oldest. She was the oldest. She's deceased now, but there was family here, and I just didn't feel like
They needed you.
Well, I know Mama needed me, and I didn't. I made that choice to stay here.
Yeah.
And I told her, you know, I don't know nobody up north. I ain't lost nothing up there. So no, I'm gonna stay right here. And it was a good decision for me.
Well, and some of those who went up north are starting to come back
Oh,
to the south.
all of my friends are coming back now. Yeah, you know. Yeah, the majority of them are back now, and you know that was a wise choice for me.
So that must have been a hard choice back then because things were still pretty segregated back.
It was, but my whole thing was the demonstrations were started right after I got out of high school. I was working in the Department of Medicine where I stayed all my career, and once that got started, I said I don't need to go north. I want to stay here and change this town.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we set out to do, and I think we were pretty successful in doing that.
Yeah, I think you've been very successful. There's been a lot of changes, and many of them for the good.
Oh, most of them, all for the good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So decisions were made, and you're here, and so this whole thing with minority contracting, that's something that a lot of us don't think a lot about. That these contracts go out, and even if, say, the town or somebody else is non-discriminatory, what the contractors are doing could be a different matter.
right. I was on Owasso for like 16 years, off and on, and I started looking at contracts.
How long ago?
My last 3 years was probably
For quite a while.
I'd say 9-10 years ago.
Okay.
But when I started looking at the contracts, I said, you know, everything I see is minority contractors are doing hauling, and I said, why can't we get some subcontractors in, or at least some minority firms bidding on these contracts? Well, we have a hard time doing it. Well, get out here and find some. That was my reply. And so we started looking, and in that field, it's a really tough field to find minority contractors. So that's why I started with Owasso, because I know their business inside out.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I mean I know a lot about Owasso, and they don't. Well,
Because you've been on
I've been on the board.
Okay.
And I knew when I got there, the contracts, the whole organization, you had to take a look. I didn't just look at contracts when I first got there. I started looking at the whole organization, and there were changes that needed to be made in there. So Fred Battle and I were on at the same time. So I had allies, and we could maneuver and do some things, and then I got to be.
For those who don't know, Fred Battle has been around also for a long time. Used to be the head of the NAACP.
Fred for a long time. Fred was the head of the NAACP, and
Yeah.
and Nate Davis and I were his allies, and so we always had a good time. So when I got on the Owasso, I started looking at the organization, and it didn't look like what I thought it should be looking like, especially because of where it was. And so I started first looking at personnel, and then I started looking at contracts, and made some. I told Ed at the time that I wanted to see.
Ed, who was the head of
Ed,
WASA.
who's the head of OWASA, he's executive director. I said I want to see all contracts over $50,000. And so I started looking, and for about 6 months I just looked and kind of see where's all this money going, and I don't see any of it going to minority contractors. And so about the same time, I first looked at what wording is for what the state was doing, you know, because Raleigh was changing, and that, well, Democrats were still in when we first got in, but it was still hard to get something done about contracts and about minority contractors. And then the second piece, it was so hard to find them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to be approved by the state, and you have to be, you have to be in the field, you have to know the field, and there's just not many there. And so one of the things that's with Chapel Hill getting a new manager, and by him coming from Virginia, so I want to get into him quick to find out, where can I find minority contractors? How can I get them interested in the WASA? Because a lot of people don't know what a WASA stands for, minority contractors, and they just really have, since it's such a specialized field,
Mm-hmm.
they have a really hard time finding minority contractors.
Mm-hmm.
The contractor they're using right now is Moffitt Piping.
It's what?
Moffitt Piping is what it's
Oh,
called.
okay.
And Moffitt is headed, this is the trick, it's headed by a female, a white female, and that's a minority contractor as far as they're concerned. And so she gets all of WASA's work. And I said, come on now, guys, y'all can find somebody else. And so that's why I had a conversation with Vishnu, and he just said, Braxton, we just can't find them. And I can kind of sympathize with him. I said, well, maybe we can help you. So that's the reason I want to talk to Mr. Jones over at, he's going to be our next interviewee over in Chapel Hill. Since he's coming from out of town, maybe in Clarksville, that he had an opportunity to know some minority contractors. And so I thought that would be the next place that we would probably start looking at.
And I imagine if for a long time minorities could not get these contracts, then if there's not, it's what comes first, the chicken or the egg, and if they're not being hired, there's decades of discrimination. So then they're not around. So if they start, the word gets out and they start seeing that there's opportunities, then
That's right.
Then somebody will have the foresight to start something going. But it takes a while.
I mean,
So that the supply meets the demand, and the demand is out there. Yeah.
The portion of the minority contract out of OWASA, what minorities get, is mostly hauled in, like gravel,
Yeah.
stuff like this. And when you look at a $2 million contract, and they're only getting 10% or less, that's not a lot of money. So I'm saying, guys, I know y'all can find somebody can do something else outside hauling. I said, you need some architects now.
Need some what?
Some architects.
Uh-huh.
You can't look for guys at HBCUs at a senior class to find engineers, architects, and the guys of this, because everybody is gone. If you're a minority, everybody's just about gone in those classes before their senior year.
Yeah.
And I said, that's why I was pushing them to get out and go to, different, different venues where you would most likely think that a lot of professional minority people would be at conventions and stuff like this. You gotta get out. I mean, you don't even get out and chop and do stuff. And so we had to push them to get out to these, the street fairs and, the little events, especially the music stuff in Carver. And so now they'll start doing that, and I said, wow, now what else do we go for? I mean,
Well, people, I guess, they get certain ways they do things, and a lot of times I would imagine they get used to certain people, and this one knows that one, and this one's a brother, and this one is my wife's uncle or something. And
it's the same thing with personnel.
Yeah, to break that open, these habits and ways of looking at things.
It's like I said, you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. You just can't. And in employment, you look at where your employees are coming from. The Northern Orange County and Alamance County. I mean, shouldn't a bell go off in your head? What color are your supervisors? Where are they staying at? If they're staying in the northern end of the county and in Alamance County, and I don't see anybody from Orange County on your workforce, we got a problem.
Yeah. In Person County, a lot of good people can't afford to live around here.
That's right.
They sometimes commuting 40 miles or more, 50 miles.
Well, I know, a few people that commute. I know this guy who stayed in Cumberland County. And he was commuting to the university every day.
In where?
Cumberland County, in Fayetteville. He was commuting from Fayetteville to Chapel Hill every day.
Oh my gosh.
I said, man, what? He said, well, hey, for my field, this is where the job is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
so to go find people to fill in some minority slots, you got to go out to those.
You got to go out. They had been using the same finance for a pretty good while. When I got on the board, they've been using this one company. It was a 3-year contract, and they had been using them for 6 years. And I'm saying, well, when do you rotate these guys? Well, when we go out to bid, I said, Ed, you can't expect different results if you keep hiring the same people. So when they got a new finance director, I was on the board, and I said, for me, your number one job is to see, can't we find some accounting firms that are black can bid on this contract. He did a pretty good job, but he didn't find any. But he showed me what he had been, the range that he had been looking for, where he had been putting out ads and stuff. I said, you got to get outside of. You can't just look at what the state has on its website and think we're going to find somebody that want to look at what I would consider not, it's not. Owasso has a pretty sizable firm. They got they got like 137 employees. And you got 4 or 5 different offices up under that. You got your water, you got your sewer, you got your raw water, and all these areas of finance. And I keep saying, I know that the total package is enough for somebody to look at.
Mm-hmm.
But we just couldn't. He couldn't find anybody, and the new guy coming in, he said, well, I had some guys in school with me, and they have their own businesses now, and so I checked with them, and he did, and they said the amount was too small for them to come out of town. Because you have to spend, when you're new, you have to spend a lot of time in the organization to get to know it and get to understand the working of the organization. So it takes a little time.
Yeah.
And that means that you would be sending some people down almost
Yeah.
regularly. But now they do rotate those contracts every 3 years now. The city having the same people all the time.
Well, that's good. And besides Owasso, what other?
Well, we look at the town.
The town.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a meeting with Carver's finance officer now, and I know Arch, so it's not a problem. It's just a problem for me trying to fit him in my schedule.
Okay.
And I want to bring some of the other members along. With me, So it's hard to get everybody's schedule where.
Yeah. So hold on 1 minute. We're going to take a station break.
Okay.
And catch your breath.
All right.
And be thinking of what you don't want to forget.
All right.
This is Will's Wake Up Call on WCOMLP, Chapel Hill and Carrboro, 103.5 FM. You can stream us live at WCOMFM.org.
And we have a few announcements. One is that there's going to be Balance and Accuracy in Journalism tonight. And that's the third Wednesday every month that Jerry Marketis has this program he's had for quite a few years. It's a really good one. And tonight it's an especially important one. He's going to have two exciting young black activists, Dismara Gatewood and the Jamu Dillahunt, who are just back from Palestine. And they are going to be talking about linking Palestine liberation with black liberation. So they were over on a trip there and studying that situation. So this is going to be really exciting because Palestine the situation there is not covered very well in this country. The media seems to have a blackout on any kind of fair coverage of the Palestine issue. Just like right now, the whole issue with Venezuela is another issue that is not being covered very well, but maybe we can get a program soon about what's happening in Venezuela. Anyhow, that's going to be tonight at 7:30 at the community church, Unitarian Universalist Church on Purefoy Road. And I just encourage everyone to go. It's going to, every month it's a very good program, but this month is going to be particularly informative and exciting. And these are two very dynamic young black activists, so that's going to be particularly interesting to hear them. And then there's the other situation that I think if you've been reading the paper or listening on the news, ICE has been particularly punitive lately, going around arresting people at their jobs. I think they've arrested a couple hundred people in the last few months. And so a lot of people are getting concerned there. It seems almost like a retaliation because they're pissed off because some local sheriffs are saying they're not going to be doing their work for them and checking on people in jail on their status for them, which is their job. So they are, and they mention that, so they're very upfront about it, that they're sort of getting back about that. And so for those who are concerned about the vulnerable, the vulnerable population that's being threatened by ICE, and if you would like to participate, there's some teams that are being gotten together to try to help in that situation. So if you're interested in finding out more about it, you can email your name to, it's V as in victory, OLOFFERS, like for volunteers, offers, VOLOFFERS@gmail.com. So if you could email volunteer offers @gmail.com, you will be given some information about how you can help in that situation. So that, I think, is there any other, does anybody have any other? No, I think that's about it. Okay, back to our program. We're talking with Braxton Foushee, who is the chair of the Labor Committee for the Chapel Hill Carborough NAACP, and he's particularly focusing, as he's taking charge of this committee, on minority contracts, which is something that a lot of times people don't think about. That who gets these contracts, and who doesn't get the contracts. And so Braxton is raising our awareness, and I think the awareness of some of these places in town that offer contracts, getting them to kind of take a look at how they go about doing that.
Yes, we got to stick our little nose in a lot of places to make sure they're conforming with what they have on paper is being followed very closely among their workforce. And I noticed that there's a North Carolina statute 143-128 that allows
It's a state statute.
State statute that allows for 10% of minority contracts over $100,000. And so that's one of the ground rules that we're kind of looking at to make sure that these organizations, like the towns and Awasa and the university, that's going to probably be another headache. But we gotta stick our nose and make sure they're doing the right things too about their contracts. So this is going to be an interesting year for us, I think. So.
Yeah, taking a look at that, and I guess you don't have any enforcement possibility except to make public if somebody is not trying to.
If you're not doing anything, then we're really gonna be there, and
Good.
I think they could be doing a lot better. It's just that we're not getting any help from Raleigh. I haven't seen an area where they are being pushing for minority participation in these contracts, even though the statute says you can have up to 10%. Those contracts should be. It don't say shall be, should be.
Okay.
Minority contracts.
Okay.
So it's just
It's kind of a wishful.
Yeah, and it's not going to happen with wishful. So
No.
Even though what we see, like with road contracts in transportation, most time I see the guys are holding signs and doing stuff like that. I don't see very few doing anything else. That's all I see in transportation. And that's the only visible part I can see. So that's why we need to look at contracts and make sure.
Those are a lot of those road contracts are some big contracts. So what is a lot of times you see what the tier company There may be some other big companies.
There are, I'm trying to get my hands on what's on the state's website. Because there's a procedure you have to go through. I know that from talking to the parishes, because they used to do a lot of state work. And they said, you know, it's little teachers to go through. You got to be, you got to have all the dots crossed before you can actually get accepted. And so.
I'm sure they have to have all kinds of licenses and insurance. It's
mostly insurance, you know.
Yeah.
I was talking to.
So to get started for some new companies would be really difficult for some of these people.
I mean, the equipment costs so much for you to get started, so it is hard to get money.
Your foot in the door.
Oh yes, I mean if you don't have a small business now working and trying to get state contracts, that equipment you have to have is not cheap. So you have to have these big motor graders, these you know, this big equipment, this $500,000-$600,000 for a small contractor.
That would be
tremendous indebtedness for them.
Yeah.
So they would have to be.
Unless you got a cooperative group to.
You got to be
looking for some money, put some money. Yeah.
That's right.
But even then, to get the expertise, although with those big contracts, do they contract out like you were talking about? Like
they subcontract a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
They subcontract a lot of stuff out.
Finance and
right.
The uniforms. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into all
a lot of it. Now you have to have all of that.
And then the legal fees. Maybe they can get some.
You got to have an attorney.
Yeah, yeah.
So
there could be some wiggle space even for those who don't have huge amounts, like some lawyers, some accountants, to try to get a foot in the door.
That's why I think you see most of the guys are doing a lot of hauling, because then you don't have to have all of that underlying backup.
Yeah.
You can just get out there. You have drivers. You have your insurance.
Yeah.
You get your trucks inspected all the time, because they're going to do that anyway. So you don't have to worry about that. And so and those trucks are pretty steep.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. I mean.
Probably $500,000 for one of those.
Easy. Yeah. So I mean that's, and I can understand if you. Well, let me put it this way. I know Wassa can do better, and so we're going to have to push them to do a little better, because they have all of that, and I should have brought my sheet with me. They have 5 complete contracts waiting to be filled already this year. So they have 3 more that they haven't started yet, and those are the ones that I'm focusing on right now.
Yeah.
And I haven't met with Ed yet. I wanted to start with Vishnu, because they said he handles the contracts.
Yeah.
And you know, I know Bob, so
yeah,
I can always talk to him.
Yeah. Well, so it's good to start in a place that you've been on the board, you know it pretty well, and get your feet wet there, getting them, you know, and see what you can do there, and then tackle some of the others where, it's hard to get your foot in the door and get them to really listen.
Well, I don't excuse me. I don't have a problem with like Wassa and Carver, but I have not yet been through. I talked with Pam Heminger, who's the mayor of Chapel Hill, and she said, I said, well, Pam, who are all y'all contracts? And she said, oh, you have to see Public Works. I said, okay. So I know now I got to go out to Public Works. I got to find out.
Yeah.
It's just getting I at least want to have 2 people with me when we go. It's 5 people on the
Oh, it's
committee.
good to have somebody else to hear it. At this.
And I carry my silent partner that nobody knows right now. Her name is Sharon Davis. Sharon and I are real good friends, and so I said, Sharon, I need a good note taker.
Yeah.
I said, so,
And to take notes always.
I said, so you ain't got to say nothing. I said, but if you want to ask questions, you can ask questions.
Yeah.
I said, but I just need you to take notes.
Because then
I'm going to be talking.
somebody say, no, I didn't say that. Well, wait a minute, we have.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
she's agreed to do that. And
Great.
I said, well, I can coordinate stuff. With her. And
Yeah.
so she was with me. She was at another meeting. And in our first meeting, I said, well, what time can you meet? She said, well, Braxton, I can get there at 2:00. She said, I get out at 1. That'll give me an hour to get from Raleigh to Chapel Hill. I said, okay. So she had a meeting with her sorority in Raleigh, and so I said, don't worry. I said, just get there. And so when she got there, we had just started good, and so we went back over the things so she could capture all of that.
So Braxton, so you're working with Owasso and with the town of Carborough, going to work with the town of Chapel Hill. And then what about UNC? That's a big one.
That's a big one. I thought I would try to cut my.
Yeah, get you.
I thought I'd try to cut my fingernails with Orange County next because, moving through those 2 organizations and then going to Chapel Hill, then go to Orange County, and maybe I know that they coordinate a lot of stuff with the university, and I know Chapel Hill does too. So I can get a feel of who I need to go see, and I know where the building is, but I don't know the people.
Well, there's also all the county offices in I keep forgetting about in Hillsborough.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have all the county stuff too. Yeah. So you're gonna have a busy time.
It's gonna be a busy, probably in the next 6 months.
But it's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be interesting because I need to know, and so we can have an inventory of this information, and it won't be so hard on the next person who's gonna follow behind me, who they need to see.
Yeah.
And
keep records.
It's easy to find out when the contracts are coming up because these are all public meetings, and they have to talk about them. And so I said, at least in the public, from the public persona, we can be there, and we can ask questions. We can comment on. We can say, well, why are you not doing so and so and so and so, and what have you done? So Owasso has 3 big contracts coming up in this year.
And Braxton, if you have records, then whoever takes your place after you won't have to start from scratch. There'll be records about, well, this was said that maybe in the next year they'd do better with this or that. And then there's also the whole school system.
Yep. They're coming on too.
Yeah.
Anybody that's building in this county, it's where we want to be.
Yeah.
And if we can gather all this knowledge now, we know the right questions to ask. Because we'll have that inventory with us now that we starting out going and looking at these things and find out before the final line is drawn, the name is
when
all
do
put
they
into
do
place.
these things?
When do they do these things? They have to do a public part of it, I know. And so that's the part where we can come in at and ask our questions. I don't want to, I know a lot of the questions they ask, but are we asking the right questions?
Yeah. And their fiscal year, what does it go from July to July?
July to July.
Yeah, so that's good to know too. So they probably start around January, February getting these.
Right.
contracts out. Get them,
This year's contracts are already out,
yeah,
signed, and
Yeah.
so Vishnu gave us a big sheet, and he listed all the contracts out, now the ones that are coming up, and so we're gonna try. I'm gonna try to coordinate with First Baptist when they have their minority fair, business fair.
oh, great.
So I'm gonna try to contract with them.
When do they have that?
I think that's last year. This year they had it in the fall,
Oh, okay.
and so it gives us
I didn't know
enough.
First Baptist did that, that's pretty
Yeah, that was that.
interesting.
They did one last year. It was going to be outside. It rained that day, so we had to move it in. They moved it in the fellowship hall. It was a little crowded, but it worked fine. But it poured down raining that day, so they were going to have it in the parking lot and across the street. And the other, they have two parking lots, one across the street and one right next to the church. And so they were going to set up around those two areas, and it poured down raining all
boy.
day long. So everybody had to get crowded down in the basement, and so.
So,
that was-
excuse me, at their minority fair, this is when a lot of people who are looking for minority workers or
right. Well, what
businesses.
businesses coming in, putting their wares out,
Oh, okay.
large and small,
Uh-huh.
and so I was gonna talk with Reverend Coleman and get his ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I want to tell him what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
See, can't we get some? Once it gets is minority contractors offer the state contract and then offer another site called industrial something.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon has it. Well, we've already passed it in last month's report for the monthly meeting.
And do you have like any kind of a notebook or catalog of all the minority businesses in Orange?
That's what I'm trying to get a log of all of that now. And so.
So you're matching one with the other.
Right, and so we'll know. It's just and we need it for a lot of different reasons, especially to find out where they're paying a livable wage.
Are they paying it? Yeah.
Right. So we have. I got that. Reverend Campbell did have that list, and so we know. And I talked to Susan Moraine. Not Moraine. It's her last name.
That's okay.
And anyway, she's pushing. She's one that pushing the 15 an hour.
Oh, yeah, Susan Romaine.
Susan Romaine.
Yes. She came
Yes.
to our Wolf meeting quite a while ago, and she's a dynamo.
Oh yeah. See, and Barbara said, "You need to talk to Susan."
Yeah.
And so I said, "Okay." I said, I said, "I'll get around. I'm trying to do it within the next 2 weeks."
Wow.
We're getting my 3-week schedule is getting kind of tight right now.
Yeah, well, you got a big job there. So so I hope you do make use of the other people on your committee, because it's a lot. that you're
It's
trying to do.
Marion, Jesse,
Yeah.
Calvin, myself. It's 5.
Calvin, do I know Calvin?
Calvin Dirchbaum, who ran for school board,
Oh, okay.
and
I know Jesse and Miriam.
Yeah.
Mhm.
missing somebody else.
Yeah.
It's 5 of us.
Well.
Oh, Reverend Campbell.
Oh, hey, the big guy.
Yes. Yes, and so it's going to be an exciting time.
It is exciting, and this whole thing with jobs, there's so much.
Jobs, wages, any way we can assist in once they get in some trouble, or either somebody gets in some trouble,
Mhm.
we want to be able to turn them over to Joel's husband, because he's redressed now, and
Mhm.
so we're going to have our hands full trying to make sure that everybody gets a fair share, and that's my whole thing. You might not get the contract, but at least you got your foot in the door.
Yeah, and I like that you're bringing somebody to take notes and keeping records, so that, you know, if and when you step down, that all that work
All that work
is not
is-
just in your head, it's
Right.
on paper.
It transfers to somebody else.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Sharon is a good note taker too. I serve on another committee with her. That's why I asked. I said, you know, and one of her daughters teaches at Northside, and so she volunteers over there once a week on Mondays. And I said, I know you got Mondays tied up. I said, and I know you got 2 or 3 other days. I said, you just give me a date, and we'll fit it in your schedule, and we can move.
Now, Braxton, we have about 4 or 5 more minutes left, so if there's anything that you want to bring up, either about this or something else while you have the floor, I just want to.
Well, you know, I would just encourage people, and what I want to let them know is that we're here. We have our ears open, and if there's a need, labor encompasses a lot of other little moving parts.
Yes, it does.
And so we're going to embrace this whole field of labor. And if you need any help, we're always here. I mean,
So how would they
How
get
would they
in
get in
touch with
touch?
you?
you can
Or
get it.
if they know somebody's business that they think you may not know about, whatever they want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
You can just email me. I'm not a big fan of all of that, but Barbara looks at it all the time. It's like, did you see so and so and so? Yes. And that's my email address is Duncan, DUNKIN at
DUNKIN.
DUNKIN 322 at hotmail.com.
Okay, so like Dunkin' Donuts, Dunkin'?
Yeah, DUNKIN 322
322
at hotmail.com.
at hotmail.com. So folks, if you know, you have any suggestions to make to Braxton about how to be more effective, or some ideas you have, or if you know some business you want to be sure he knows about, or whatever.
If they have a labor problem,
Think of Dunkin' Donuts,
if you have any
DUN.
problems with
Or
with
any
a business
problems?
or employment, let us know, and we'll be right there to assist you.
Okay, so Duncan322 at hotmail.com,
That's correct.
and you can get in touch with him. And, well, this has been fascinating.
Well, I enjoy it. This is what I do, and
Yeah,
you know, I know I'm not in this alone. We've been doing this a long time. So.
yeah. But it sounds you're bringing some fresh energy and
Yes, I am, because I
and some experience. Like have you been on the board with the WASA? There's a lot of
there are a lot of moving
institutional knowledge
There's
and
a lot of moving
community
parts,
knowledge that you bring to it.
and since I've been around here, I know a lot of people. I know how these things work.
Yeah.
It's always good to sit down and try to come to some mutual agreement if there's there are disagreements with some parts of whether it's what I cover or not.
Yeah.
Whether it's labor involved or not. There's help out here if you really want it, and so NAACP is always available for you to come.
You're a good representative of the NAACP.
Thank you.
The Chapel Hill Carborough branch. We're all proud members of that.
That's right.
Yes. Well, Braxton, thank you so much
Well,
for
thanks
coming
for having
today.
me.
Yeah, I'm really excited about what you're doing and getting to know you better. And thank you so much.
Thank you.